Hey guys, how's it going? Kripparrian here. Kripparrian here. Today I want to give you guys another batch of user-created cards. I've picked up most of these in the last month or so you can maybe get a little bit of hints from the mean streets of Gadgetzan expansion, at least some inspiration these users have had. And they are majorly, except for I think a couple from the custom Hearthstone Reddit, and if you are really into custom cards, you probably want to be there. Kick it off, we got Death Whelp, a 0 mana 2/2 dragon. Now, a lot of these cards, I just really like a few aspects of them. I certainly, under no circumstances, want to see a 0 mana 2/2 ever in Hearthstone. But I do like the idea that the user who made this card actually punishes people for playing this in an aggressive deck. So the idea is, we keep getting like stupidly broken 1-drops every expansion, and I think it really hurts the game. But Blizzard is, kind of honed in on doing this every expansion. We're going to get like some really powerful 1-drops. And the last little few, so yeah, this is a crazy 1-drop. You just have to have a weapon. Wow, such a crazy requirement, That's such crap, right? We really need cards that actually punish you in some aspect for using them, rather than just like ridiculously statted minions with really no downside. We need cards like this one. We need a card that, if you have to print early game cards, they have to actually offer a real disadvantage. So, if you're playing an aggressive deck and you're going first, which is kind of what you want, playing an aggressive deck, if you have a crazy powerful opener, discarding a random card, that's actually a real disadvantage, because if you go first, you're already on the card penalty. So this card, it kind of balances out going first versus going second. It balances out having more sustain and aggressive decks. Just so many aspects of the discard mechanic that we've seen in other card games. I think this is a pretty popular mechanic in Magic the Gathering, but it really kind of flows with balancing aggressive decks, and I really like that about it. And we have Uzu, Master of Illusions. So before and during the mulligan stage, you appear as another random hero to your opponent. I think I've highlighted another card that had a similar effect, which means that people kind of want this mechanic. Now, I think there's a few disadvantages to the mechanic because the mulligan stage in a game has to be kind of kept intact because it's a pretty skillful aspect of the game. So what I'd kind of like to see is maybe a card that offers more of a disadvantage to your deck, but again, I'd really like to see something that kind of compensates for that. So, if you are going to screw your opponent in the mulligan stage, you at least want, some kind of big downside that will surely happen. So, maybe you draw a specific card in your opening hand that is not particularly good, or something to that effect. I really like this idea. I just think it needs to be balanced out with some kind of other creativity as well. We have Smoke Bomb, so another rogue spell here, a 5-mana shuffle a copy of your hand into your deck. I really like this aspect because I'm a true fan of combo decks in all card games, and I think doing something like this will enable you to actually come up with some of the craziest combos you'll ever see. It kind of breaks the deck building restriction of having more than 2 cards of one type in your deck. And obviously it's super clunky, obviously it's kind of dumb, but Blizzard is also intent on putting some really bad cards into the game. This is the bad cards I want to see. I want to see bad cards that have, some gears in combo players' minds, twisting, turning, and kind of feeling out some really cool combo decks. Well, obviously it probably won't be that powerful, but really can deliver a big enjoyable experience to the players that really kind of seek these decks. We have Crystalline Guardian, the 4-mana 4/8 taunt. That's a pretty big guy. The reason this guy is really interesting is when it takes 4 damage or more, it just destroys it. So I think the idea is if it takes 4 damage or more in one hit, it destroys it. So at worst, it's a 4-mana 4/4 taunt, which is average, and at best, it will completely shut down aggressive decks. So, really cool card. Very good anti-aggro card, but it doesn't just, drop as a dead weight against the other control matchups. It's still all right. And I feel we need cards like that. Cards that are pretty good against everything non-aggro and very good against aggro. Right now we have cards that are very good against aggro and absolute garbage against every other deck, which makes a lot of the matches very polarizing, kind of feels like a dice roll queuing up on ladder. I think this will fix that problem, at least a little bit. We have the Bottle, pretty cool card, 1 mana, 1/2, and when this weapon loses durability, double its attack. So it would have extreme synergy with weapon buff effects because you can keep doubling the attack. Well, maybe not so extreme, but it's a 1-cost card that's pretty decent, and, if you really do want to play the combo game, you can. So I really like these, multi-dynamic cards. Self-Repair Bot, 4 mana, 3/6 mech priest card, and Enrage. So Enrage, once it has taken damage, it gains stealth and can't attack, and at the end of your turn, restore 2 health to this minion. So this card is obviously absolutely batshit crazy. But again, I really like the mechanics involved here. I think having some minions that are pretty big, and 4 mana kind of used to be mid-range, but it's kind of big. You don't really have many 4-cost cards in aggressive decks, for instance. So it is a pretty sizable minion. I like minions that can sustain themselves, that you can just play them on the board and they can have kind of a bit of a swing effect against the smaller minions. And this does a very good job of that. So I really want to praise the creativity involved. The Board King, 4 mana, 3/5. At the end of your turn, reveal a minion in each deck. If yours costs more, discard it. So, really cool card. It might screw you over, but overall, I think the effect will be very strong. At least in the control matchups. Now, those don't really exist, but if they would exist, it would kind of reduce the number of those small cantrip draw mechanics. So it's basically like if you're playing a combo deck and you want to boost your draw, you can kind of do that with this card. But more than anything, thematically, I just think it's an awesome idea. Circle of Life, 4 mana hunter card, add a random beast and a Circle of Life to your hand. So we have infinite value. Now, random beasts are often going to be complete shit, so nobody's going to actually play this card, but I like the design of these cards, and I like the fact that the user who created it kept the power level very low. Cards like these, you certainly don't want them to be good enough to fit in aggro decks or anything like that, but it is an interesting way to have a lot of additional value in classes that really need it. We had this Jade mechanic thing, particularly with Druid, which is now like the master of control decks. You just can't outvalue a Jade Druid anymore. The thing is, Druid could already play a control game. Druid could already play a mid-range game. Druid could already play a combo game. Well, Hunter just has the face game. So if Hunter got the powerful infinite value beat control deck type of thing, people might actually play Control Hunter, which would be really cool. So I'm kind of hoping to see cards like that, maybe a little bit one-upping this one, but something that would really push these very one-dimensional classes into more archetypes. I know a guy who knows a guy. Discover another Discover card. I just think this card is inevitable, and I wanted to highlight it here as I thought it was thematically done very well. Astral Communism. Druid 4 mana spell. Set the cost of all minions in your hand and deck to the average cost of cards in your deck. Just super cool and super clever. I had to include this one. While I don't think anyone's really going to play cards like these, it might enable you to have some crazy, high mana cost combos. But the thing is, Druid can already do that. So this card will probably be maybe playable in a few other classes. But Druid, meh. We'll see. Firewall, 2 mana mage spell. Until the start of your next turn, characters that cross the board take 4 damage. So crossing the board would basically mean attacking in some form or another. So pretty cool card. Again, a lot of these custom cards really nail the thematics of what they do. You put up a giant wall of fire. If you want to go through it and attack, you're going to take a ton of damage. Makes sense, right? Cool card. Trial by Combat. So it's presumably a paladin and a warrior card, costs 4, deals 5 to a minion, so you can kill something, just deal 5s, pretty fair value for 4. If it survives, however, restore it to full health and give it +5/+5 and Divine Shield. So it's either pretty good removal or a pretty gigantic buff. Now, you know, the fact that you can play a 4-cost paladin card and give something +5/+5 and Divine Shield sounds really insane. I understand that, but you have to keep in mind Blessing Kings and other similar buff effects usually work as a tempo tool played on a 3-drop, but a 3-drop will not survive the effect. So some extremely complicated yet powerful buff cards are just very welcome to me. So I really like the design of this one. Gift Exchange, 2 mana, each player draws a card and adds a copy of their opponent's card to their hand. So a little bit of fun, a little bit of cool draw. I'd love to see rogue cards like this. Rogue's already master manipulator of the class cards and the double draw and the mill. And I think if Rogue had, like, you know, 3, 4, maybe 5 variation of cards like these, you can come up with some really crazy stuff. And lastly, I want to highlight Metamorphosis. So it's a 3-cost Warlock spell. Gain 15 armor at the start of your next turn. Destroy all of your armor. So one card that really shines to me is like the freeze effect, like Frost Gnome and that kind of stuff. And I feel you can really get away with accomplishing what that card does in a lot of different classes. And it seems like, you know, there's a few people out there who think the same. A card like Metamorphosis is like, you know, just buy me a little bit of extra time to do what I want. And I think those cards are really necessary to defeat a lot of the aggressive pushes. And while Reno Lock and all that is pretty powerful deck right now, you have to keep in mind Reno and a lot of the very critical cards are going away from standard in the next patch cycle. So we will need a few other adjustments, and I think this is definitely an amazing direction to take. So hope you guys have enjoyed my review of these user-created cards. Let me know what you think. Let me know what inspires you to play Hearthstone, and I'll see you guys tomorrow.